Welcome to part 7 of building an insane asylum roller coaster in Planet Coaster. And I've been thinking to myself a lot lately. I've been thinking that I should make this building look much more abandoned, because it is supposed to be a sort of urban exploration like place with roofs that are falling in, with columns that are falling and stuff like that, basically. So I decided to myself, what would make things look abandoned? And I looked at lots of YouTube urban exploration videos. In fact, I look at them a lot when I'm playing this game because I just love the ambiance. And I thought to myself, well, some roofs are sort of fallen through, some roofs are sort of just frameworks left with the tiles have fallen down, or, you know, the panels have gone, or this kind of thing. So that's what I went for. At the moment, as you can see me building there, I'm building a skeleton roof, as I like to call it. I don't know how else I would describe that. A framed roof, you know, just the frame of the roof, just to make it look like ruins. I did that with a little building that I've started to build here. And this little building, well, it's not actually this one because that never came into fruition, this little building here, but another little building, which will be very close to it, it kind of just floats, and I'm a bit worried about the way it's looking, because there's so much roller coaster and tracks underneath the building that I can't really continue the columns all the way to the floor, so I have to think of creative ways to make that work. So this building also has a sort of a skeleton roof in a slightly different way. This whole part was just to sort of experiment with things to make things look a bit dilapidated. I figured out some cool things, like I figured out how to make some sort of hospital tiles and things like that that have helped me incorporate on into the next part that I build. And the next part after this building is a lot more interesting and is a lot more difficult to conceive. So it's turning out okay. It's turning out okay. Everything is going well. So the main focus of this episode is to experiment and make things that look abandoned. And how do I do that exactly? Well, the plank of wood is something that has really helped in that regard. I figured out that I can use it to make boarded up windows. I mean, I always sort of knew that, but I didn't actually take any I didn't take that into fruition just yet. And I wish I had used it more, because the front of the building doesn't really have any boards on the windows, and I think I might come back later and put some more board up the house, basically, to make it look like it's you know, abandoned, derelict, and to keep vandals and stuff outside. I don't know how. You know, a lot of abandoned places have boarding, and sometimes the boards have fallen down so you can get in and these kind of things. That's basically what I'm going for. I also put lots of shrubbery in the form of the, what's it called? Is it like vine or something? It looks like vine to me. Or bushes, you know, that looks like tall grass, that stuff, and I put that on the roof. I also used some green plants to make that look sort of like weeds, like stingy nettles and things like that. And all in all, I was actually quite happy with this experimentation, because it kind of worked out quite a lot well. That I know English. So, what else happens? Well, you see the frames that I put on. I still haven't done this yet, but I'm going to come back and put some more planks of wood on it to look like some of the wooden panels are still there and are sort of falling down. It's quite difficult, unfortunately, to create walls that are like dilapidated looking, because the walls just come in a set piece, you know. So I'll have to use other things to make walls, like, you know, design features and these kind of things. I would really still like half walls. That would be really, really cool. I actually haven't heard anything about the game developers making half walls, but that would be pretty cool. At the moment, I have to use that that quarter circle stump found in the wall menu, and I just turn it in on itself, and it makes a sort of half wall square pillar. But it's just not the same. It's just not the same. It can be quite difficult. Oh, and also an update on that little 80s house in this build, you know, that little modern building up there. I changed it completely. The only thing that's the same is the shape of the building. Everything else is completely different, and I was very unsatisfied with the white. The white concrete is far too bright. I'm really looking forward to when we can change the colors of each pieces, because, well, other than that meaning we don't need very many pieces anymore, because we can literally change all the pieces to suit us. It would also you know, mean that I don't have to always use the glossiest, cleanest looking tool assets, or I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, the cleanest one of those things, because everything looks pretty clean because it's theme parky, and that doesn't work for horror theme, and that's probably where I'm going to be creating most of my builds based on. I'm very into the horror series. If you hadn't realized yet by looking at my logo, I'm very into that kind of thing. Maybe that's going to be my thing. I don't know. Anyway, I changed the 80s building to make it look like it looks a bit earlier than the 80s now. It looks more like 50s with a bit of an Art Deco flair, maybe 40s then. Just because of the way the shapes of the objects I used look. And I also used that tile effect, which I really, really like. I was really struggling to figure out ways to make tiles and hospitals, but now I think it looks great. So those little beds inside that building will be on a tile platform, and the walls will be tiles, and I use the same similar methods to creating that as I do for the roofs. Which is much easier now that I've had some practice with it, and I think of more and more ideas to use it, and I look at other builds, and it all works out great. So I'm happy to say I'm very excited with how it's going, and you will see more of the 80s building in the next episode. This building will be continuation of this part of the roller coaster building, and sort of experimentation, pretty much. I like a lot of experimentation. I really like the ways the pillars were looking, and the pillars don't look very modern, so I thought I would keep a lot of the design quite old, lost in time, and these places are really old usually. They usually shut down in the 50s, but sometimes they were shut down in the 80s, so I thought maybe they built something in the 80s and then they'd shut down the next year or something, but I thought no, maybe 50s would make more sense, just to keep in with the classical theme, and plus I like making classical style architecture a lot more. I don't know about you, but to me it's a lot more fun, a lot prettier, and I'm a sucker for beauty. I really don't like modern stuff very much. I mean, of course, there are always obsessions, exceptions, but I'm not really a modern architect fan. I mean, I like to make brutalist architecture because it's so ugly, and I think not a lot of people make such ugly pieces of architecture in a beautiful way, and that can be quite challenging. And that's why I like, to me, brutalist architecture just looks so evil and archaic, and of a dystopian future to me, like a retro futuristic dystopianness. That's what I like about it. And plus I live in Mannheim, which is literally a city built in the 70s, so every modern building, that tall building is really 70s looking. I mean, they have some more modern buildings, but this city really grew in the 70s, and it just like vomited brutalist everywhere, which happens in a lot of cities, not just Mannheim, but a lot of cities in the United Kingdom as well. And I'm digressing because this has nothing to do with the Haunted Asylum. So I think I will leave it there. You can see me sort of finish off the rest of that temple thing. I don't know, it's like a bridge kind of building, and I will see you in part 8. I think it's part 8, where I will be changing the 80s building to a 1950s building, and continuing with more experimentation, overgrowing things, and I think you all also see a little bit of lighting in there, so hopefully I'll see you then. awesome, because you watched all the video, and if you want to see more, click in one of these boxes, and if you want to subscribe, do that, and I'll see you soon!